Hey everyone. I'm not even sure why I'm writing this, but I guess if I don't get it out of my head, it'll eat me alive. My name is Ethan. I'm 36. My wife, Lauren, is 33. We'd been together for almost 9 years, married for 6. To everyone on the outside, we were that stable couple. No crazy scandals, no dramatic breakups, no big red flags. Just tired, quiet, slowly drifting. The last year before this trip felt off. Not in an obvious way. No screaming matches, no slammed doors. Just small things. She snapped more, rolled her eyes, got irritated over nothing. I worked more, talked less, told myself this was just what long marriages looked like. Still, something felt wrong, like a low buzzing in my chest I couldn't shut off. The idea to go to the ocean was hers. "We need this," Lauren said one night, scrolling through vacation photos on her phone. "Just you and me. Sun, water, no stress. We'll reset." And God help me, I believed her. I wanted to believe her. I booked the tickets, told work I'd be unreachable, convinced myself this was us choosing each other again. The place itself was perfect. Small coastal town, palm trees, white buildings, that salty air that makes you breathe deeper without realizing it. The hotel wasn't luxury, but it was clean, bright, with a balcony facing the water, waves crashing nonstop like background noise for a better life. Lauren seemed happier the moment we arrived, laughing, taking photos, posting stories, spinning around the room like she'd shed 10 pounds of stress on the plane. That first day, we went straight to the beach, sun blazing, people everywhere, music playing somewhere behind us. I laid back on the chair, closed my eyes, just letting myself exist. Lauren stood over me with a bottle in her hand and smirked. "You'll burn in like 10 minutes if I don't help you," she said. She squeezed the bottle into her palms and started rubbing my shoulders, my back, my neck. Her hands felt warm, familiar. She leaned in close, joking, teasing me about how pale I was. For a moment, it felt normal again, safe, like maybe I'd been paranoid for nothing. I didn't know yet that the bottle she grabbed wasn't sunscreen. I didn't know that a few careless minutes under that sun would put me out of commission for days. And I definitely didn't know that while I'd be trapped in that hotel room, burned and helpless, she'd be out there living a completely different vacation. At that moment, lying there with my eyes closed, all I could think was, maybe this trip really will fix us. I had no idea I was watching the beginning of the end. I didn't feel it right away. That was the first thing that tricked me. We stayed on the beach for another hour or so, and I remember thinking I was just warm. Normal, pleasant vacation warm. Lauren kept checking her phone, laughing at something, replying quickly, turning the screen slightly away from me when I looked. I noticed it, but I ignored it. I was trying to be relaxed, trying to be the guy she wanted me to be on this trip. Back in the hotel room, though, everything changed fast. The moment the cool air hit my skin, my back started screaming. Not metaphorically, actually screaming. It felt like someone had poured boiling water over me. I went into the bathroom, looked in the mirror, and just stood there staring. My shoulders, my back, even part of my neck were deep red, angry red, the kind of red you don't come back from quickly. "Lauren?" I called out. She came in, took one look at me, and her face changed. Not panic, not shock, something closer to, "Oh shit, this is inconvenient." I think I messed up," she said slowly. "I might have grabbed the wrong bottle." "What do you mean, the wrong bottle?" I asked. She picked it up from the counter, turned it around, read the label like she was seeing it for the first time. "Oh my God," she said. "Ethan, I'm so sorry. This isn't sunscreen. It's just regular body lotion." I remember laughing, not because it was funny, because my brain couldn't process how stupid that sounded. Body lotion, on a beach, at noon, under a burning sun. "You're kidding," I said. "You're kidding, right?" She shook her head, biting her lip, doing that thing where she looks upset but not enough to cry.
It was an accident, I swear. They looked the same. I didn't mean to hurt you." I wanted to be mad. I really did. But instead, I was just in pain. Physical, blinding pain. Every movement burned. Sitting hurt. Lying down hurt. Even the bedsheet touching my skin felt like sandpaper. Lauren brought me aloe, cold towels, after-sun spray from the hotel shop. She hovered around for maybe 30 minutes, apologizing, kissing my cheek, telling me she felt terrible. "I'll make it up to you, I promise." That night, I barely slept. I kept waking up every time I moved even an inch. My skin felt tight, raw, like it didn't belong to me anymore. Lauren slept fine, curled up, phone on the nightstand, screen lighting up every so often with notifications she didn't bother to hide anymore. The next morning, I could barely stand straight. That's when she mentioned the excursion. "There's this coastal tour today," she said, casually while putting on a dress. "Boat ride, Old Town, lunch included. I booked it yesterday." I stared at her. "Yesterday? While I was lying there?" She shrugged. "I didn't know you'd be this bad. You said you were fine." "I'm not fine," I gestured at my back. "I can't even move." She sighed, not dramatically, just annoyed. "I already paid for it, Ethan. What do you want me to do? Sit here all day?" I didn't answer. I couldn't. Something in her tone felt wrong, cold, like this trip suddenly wasn't about us anymore. She leaned down, kissed my forehead. "Rest. I'll bring you something back." And then she left. I lay there alone in that hotel room, listening to the door close, feeling the burn in my skin and a heavier burn in my chest, one I couldn't explain yet.
He has a pleasant tone of voice. I tried to sleep after she left. I really did. I shut the curtains, turned on the AC, laid there perfectly still like the doctor blogs recommend, but sleep wouldn't come. Every time I closed my eyes, my skin throbbed and my head filled with thoughts I didn't want to have. Around noon, the painkillers finally kicked in, just enough for me to sit up. I shuffled toward the balcony, moving slow like an old man. The curtains were half open. Sunlight spilled across the floor. I pulled them aside and stepped closer to the glass. From our room, I could see the hotel entrance and the small parking area where tour vans dropped people off. I wasn't looking for anything in particular. I just needed something to distract me. That's when I saw her. The van pulled in, and people started getting out, laughing, stretching, holding hats against the wind. Then Lauren stepped down. Sunglasses, loose dress, tan already starting to show. She looked good. Too good for someone who had left her husband burned and stuck in bed. And she wasn't alone. A guy jumped down after her, younger than me, mid-20s maybe, athletic build, easy smile, the kind of confidence that comes from not carrying years of responsibility yet. He said something to her, and she laughed, real laughter, not the polite one she'd been giving me lately. Then it happened. As they walked away from the van, his hand slid to her waist. Not dramatic, not aggressive, casual, familiar, like it belonged there. She didn't pull away. She leaned into him. I felt my stomach drop so fast it was like missing a step on the stairs. My first thought was denial. Maybe he's just being friendly. My second thought was anger. Who the hell does this guy think he is? My third thought, the one that scared me the most, was quiet and heavy. She's letting him. They walked off together, bodies close, talking like they had all the time in the world. She never once looked back at the hotel. I stood there frozen, hand pressed against the glass, heart pounding harder than my sunburn ever could. My mind raced, trying to rearrange reality into something that didn't hurt. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe I was overreacting. Maybe she'd explain it later. But deep down, something shifted. That wasn't how you stand with a stranger. That wasn't how you laugh with a tour guide. That wasn't how a woman who needed this trip for her marriage acted. I watched until they disappeared from view. Then I sat down on the edge of the bed, staring at the floor, feeling stupid, weak, trapped, burned on the outside, and suddenly something much worse on the inside. That was the moment I stopped hoping. That was the moment I started watching.
I didn't confront her that night. That still surprises me when I think about it. Old me would have blown up, demanded answers, made a scene. But something about seeing her like that, from a distance, through glass, changed how I moved. I didn't want words anymore. I wanted certainty. Lauren came back that evening glowing, sun-kissed, energized, carrying a small paper bag with souvenirs like she'd had the best day of her life. "You should have seen it," she said casually, kicking off her sandals. "The old town was beautiful. The water was insane." I asked the question I already knew the answer to. "Who was the guy you were with?" She didn't miss a beat. "Oh, just someone from the tour group. I think his name was Jake or Jack or something. Super annoying. Talked non-stop." Annoying. That word almost made me laugh. She talked while I lay there, pretending to be exhausted, describing her day in vague, slippery sentences. No names, no details, just enough information to sound honest. When she finished, she leaned down and kissed my cheek again, quick, distant. That night, she fell asleep fast. I didn't. I replayed the scene over and over in my head, the hand on her waist, her body leaning in, the ease of it. I wasn't guessing anymore. I was connecting dots that had been there long before this trip. So I decided something quietly, there in the dark. I wasn't going to accuse her. I wasn't going to beg. I was going to watch. The next morning, my skin was still bad, but better. Bad enough that I could use it. I played the role perfectly, groaning when I stood, wincing when I moved, telling her I needed at least another day to recover. She barely argued. "I'll just hang around today," she said. "Maybe grab lunch, walk the beach a bit." An hour later, she was gone again. This time, I didn't stay in bed. I moved slow, careful, pulled on a shirt that barely touched my back, and went out onto the balcony. I watched the entrance. I watched the parking lot. I watched her. Around noon, she met him again. Same guy, same smile, same body language. And this time, there was no pretending it was innocent. They stood too close. She touched his arm while talking. He leaned down to whisper something, and she laughed like a teenager. That's when I took my phone out. I didn't record yet. I didn't need to. I just needed confirmation that I wasn't crazy, that what I felt in my gut was real. They walked toward the beach together. I waited a few minutes, then I followed. I stayed far back, blending in with tourists, keeping my distance. Every step hurt, but adrenaline does wild things. I watched them rent chairs together, watched them share a drink, watched her forget I existed. And in that moment, something in me hardened. I wasn't just going to catch them by accident. I was going to catch them properly.
I thought I was ready. I really did. I told myself that once I knew, once I saw something undeniable, it would somehow make things clearer, cleaner, like ripping off a bandage. I was wrong. I kept my distance as they settled on the beach. 2 chairs, 1 umbrella, not side by side at first. That almost fooled me again. Almost. But then she stood up, leaned over him to apply sunscreen to him this time. Slow, careful, way more careful than she'd been with me. My stomach twisted. She laughed at something he said, her head tilting back slightly, hair falling over her shoulder. He reached up and brushed it aside. She didn't stop him. She didn't even flinch. She smiled. That was it. I lifted my phone and started recording. My hands were shaking so badly I had to brace my elbows against my ribs. I zoomed in just enough to see faces, gestures, body language, enough that no one could later tell me I imagined it. A few minutes later, they stood up together and walked toward the water. They didn't hold hands, not yet. Instead, he placed his hand on the small of her back again, guiding her like they'd done this before. She leaned into it naturally, like muscle memory. The burn on my skin felt distant now, like it belonged to someone else. They stopped near the shoreline, talking quietly. I couldn't hear them, but I didn't need sound anymore. Then she stepped closer, too close. Her foot brushed his. She looked up at him, and he kissed her. Not a quick mistake, not a drunk slip, a full, deliberate kiss, the kind that lingers, the kind you don't come back from. I almost dropped the phone. I kept recording, even though part of me wanted to look away, pretend I didn't see it, but I forced myself to watch, forced myself to stay, because I knew if I didn't, I'd spend the rest of my life wondering if it really happened. When they pulled apart, she laughed again, smiled, happy, free. I stopped the recording and stood there, numb, heart pounding so hard it felt like it might crack my ribs. People walked past me, talking, laughing, living normal lives. No one knew that right there in the middle of a crowded beach, my marriage had just ended. I went back to the hotel alone. In the room, I sat on the bed and watched the video again, then again. Each time it hurt worse, but each time it also made me calmer, colder. The doubt was gone. There was no maybe left. When Lauren came back later, she was in a great mood. "You're looking better," she said cheerfully. "See, I told you it'd pass." I smiled. For the first time in days, I smiled at her. "Yeah," I said quietly. "I'm feeling much better." And for the first time since this trip started, I wasn't lying, because now I had something she didn't know about, and I wasn't done yet.
After that day, I became a different version of myself. Calmer, quieter, more observant. I stopped asking questions, stopped reacting to her tone, stopped caring how convincing her lies sounded. Because once you know, the lies lose their power. Lauren didn't suspect a thing. She kept going out for walks, to grab coffee, to explore a bit, sometimes alone, sometimes with excuses that didn't even try to sound real anymore. She came back late, sunburned in the right places, energized in a way she hadn't been with me for months. And I let it happen. I stayed polite, kind even. I told her my back was still bad, that I didn't want to slow her down. I watched her pack dresses she never wore for me. I watched her check her phone every few minutes. I watched her smile at messages she never shared. I wasn't guessing anymore. I was collecting. On the third night, she slipped up. She forgot her phone on the bathroom counter when she went to shower. I didn't rush for it. I didn't panic. I just waited for the screen to light up. A message popped up. "Jake, same place tonight. I can't stop thinking about earlier." I didn't open it. I didn't need to. That night, she said she was tired and went to bed early. At 11:40 p.m., she quietly got dressed again, kissed me on the forehead like a routine, and left the room. I followed. Not immediately. 5 minutes later, enough to not be obvious. I kept my distance, stayed on the other side of the street, heart steady, head clear. She met him near the beach bar. No hesitation, no awkwardness. He pulled her into a hug like it was normal. They went inside together. I didn't go in. Instead, I recorded them entering, recorded the time, the place, their body language. Enough. Then I went back to the hotel, packed my things, and booked a separate room for the rest of my stay. She came back around 3 a.m. I wasn't there. I didn't confront her in a dramatic way. No screaming, no accusations. I sent her one message. I know. I saw you. I recorded it. Don't come looking for me. She called over and over, texted, apologized, blamed the trip, blamed the distance, blamed me, then cried, then begged, then got angry when I didn't respond. I spent the rest of my vacation exactly how I wanted. Morning swims, quiet breakfasts, long walks by the water. I met new people, talked, laughed, slept peacefully for the first time in months. The sunburn healed. So did something else inside me. She didn't have a plan. She had quit her job before the trip. The apartment was in my name. The joint account was mostly my savings. When I got back home, I ended it cleanly, legally, calmly. I didn't expose her publicly. I didn't need revenge. She left with a suitcase and excuses no one wanted to hear. The guy from the beach? He disappeared the moment things became real. Funny how that works. Now, months later, I still think about that moment at the hotel window, the hand on her waist, the instant I understood everything without a single word being spoken. If there's any advice I can give, pay attention to patterns, not apologies, and never stay where respect quietly leaves the room. I went to the ocean hoping to save my marriage. I left with my self-respect, and that, somehow, was worth the sunburn.